previous video, I showed how I took off some frets from my ukulele. The ukulele that I bought was actually an out-of-box unit that I bought. I decided to keep it and fix it. So what it needed was the fretboard itself underneath the frets actually was not straight. So what I've done is I've taken off the frets, and in this video I show how I sanded down the wood underneath the frets using a power finishing sander. And I also show how I made a homemade gauge using a Dremel tool. So if you're interested in what I did to the ukulele and how it plays, take a look. What I'm going to do is use an old floor tile for the simple reason that this has a very straight edge. I'm going to take a marker pen and I'm going to mark the position of the frets. And then I'm going to notch out where those marks are with a Dremel tool. Now I just purchased this kit of 282 pieces of rotary tool accessories, and this is the Wen brand, and I believe that they must have a Wen rotary tool. Now I have a Dremel, and I'm planning to use this with the Dremel tool, and this is I guess an extension thing for the Dremel. Now what I was expecting and hoping was that these tools are going to fit nicely, and it seems like they will. But there's one thing that I just found, because what they do is they supply you with all these nice tools here and lots of sanding things, and there's also a set of collets. But what I found was, if you take one of these collets, which is used in this tool here, this is the Dremel collet. This one does not fit. It's a different diameter. So I was a little bit disappointed in that, but if you don't need to use those, then it's still a fantastic value compared with the Dremel tools actually. And this is already a 1/8 collet, so you can use the tools like this one, which I'm planning to use right now, and that fits in the collet that comes with the Dremel. So if you don't need those other sizes, then this is perfect. So now that I've got my homemade gauge here with the notches out that I just took out with the Dremel tool, if I lay this in across the fretboard where the notches are, what I found is that there's actually, if I look at the surface of these frets compared with this one over here, it's actually not that bad. If I try and rock this, then there's definitely a difference between this surface and the surface where the frets are still on the fretboard here. So what I want to do is I just want to take off a little bit of material right here where this fret was originally, and then I think that will be enough. Now to do the sanding, what I've done is I bought one of these little Black & Decker finishing sanders. Now this might be overkill for what I'm trying to do, but I'm going to try this. First of all, I'm going to test this out on a piece of wood or something, just to make sure that it's not going to be taking off too much, and to see if it's going to get the right kind of finish. Now this is kind of a cool little gadget because it's got this container here that is supposed to suck up the sawdust, and that's particularly important in the situation where I'm in right now, where I'm next to a computer and I've actually got carpet on the floor. What you get is a piece like this with some wings on it, and I wasn't too sure what those were for, but what I found out is that if you tear those off, then you actually get an extra diamond shaped piece that you could replace the tip. So if you're doing some fine work using particularly this end part, then you could just replace that and then keep the main part on there. Also, the Black & Decker paper that comes with this, the holes in the paper will line up with the holes in the sander. So most of the dust that you get is going to get sucked up into this detachable container here, and this just this is something that just kind of pulls up like this, and as you can see, this is brand new. I haven't used this yet, so this just pops open like that, and you can see here there's some holes in the top, and there's a piece of like a filter material there. So I guess you would just empty that and put it back together. What I've done actually is I've marked this area in some black marker pen so that I can take this off until that goes away. And what I've decided to do actually is to use this extension, this little detail extension piece on here, and I actually took off the sandpaper from the bottom so that I don't accidentally touch the body and scratch that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this triangle piece in here with this extension, and I just tried loosening this off before, and this screw is a little bit tight, so I've already loosened this, and I'm going to put in this this extension piece. So this is how you do it. And there are actually two screws there. One has got like a Torx bit there. That one you don't need to take out. You just need to take out the one that's got the plus screw, and then this actually has some extension fork, like an extension fork on there that just goes in here. And it looks like, okay, so the piece of sandpaper that comes with it, you have to just peel that one back. And then there's another hole there. I can put the screw back in. So get that one fastened down. Well, now this does look like some people reported that this could break. So really, I don't think I ought to be applying too much pressure on this, but I just figured that this might be a little bit more suitable for what I'm trying to do over here, which is just a very small area. And that would just, let's just see. I'm just a little bit afraid that it's going to be too much for it. So let's, oops, there we go. I think that might do it. Now you might notice here that there's a lot of sawdust because the holes are actually over in this area. There are no holes here, so this actually does nothing for the detailing. So now that I've taken off some material across those two frets right there, I'm trying my gauge on here, and the easiest way to see where there's a problem is to actually drop the gauge onto here and look into the light. So I'm looking through the light right now, and I see that it's touching there, and it's touching somewhere over here, and there's still in between the other frets over here where I'm pointing with my little pinky, there's a gap. So that means that this area right here where I'm trying to point to needs a little bit more off. So I've marked up this area, and I'm going to sand carefully across that. So now that I've done this, what I found is that it looks pretty good actually. I did find a little bit of 400 paper, and I found a suitable block of wood, so I'm just going to finish this off. So now that I've finished up with this, I'm just going to put a little bit of lemon oil. So just a little drop of this. I'm going to actually do the whole fretboard with this. And we can see there that it's kind of evened out the appearance of the fretboard, this new area that I've sanded down. So I think after that I'll be ready to put those frets back. And what I'm going to do is, I found that my little Japanese saw does fit the grooves. I'm just gonna, if it's necessary, I'm gonna deepen those grooves, especially this one right here. The advantage of this kind of a saw is that it doesn't cut on the, as you push away, but it cuts as you pull toward you. So you have a little bit more control over this. So I have to be able to just cut a little bit. I don't want to cut too much, so I'm just going to lay this in there, and I'm just going to pull toward me just to clear out enough of a slot in there. I think that's about right. So what I'm going to do is, I don't have any special tools. I'm just going to use a block of wood. It's a piece of oak molding, and I'm just going to tap that one in there with a hammer. And it's not the most delicate hammer, but it's the one I've got. Okay, that's already seated itself nicely. And I'm just going to go across and make sure that that's gone in. So now that the frets are back in, what I want to do is to just correct some of these frets. So actually, just one more final update here is that I was able to level those frets so that when I run the block over it, they run over fairly smoothly. It looks like it does touch on the 15th fret, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. It's pretty good. So just one more thing before I put the strings on. I'm taking a look here at the screws that are holding these machines on. You'll see that these are loose, so I'm just going to tighten the screw on this side, and then on the other side there's also a nut. But if I fasten this down first, and that's going to keep it in position. All of these kind of things, the things that could rattle and spoil the sound. So it's good to have your instrument in good shape. So I'm just going to set this. Now that I've tightened those screws, some of these nuts are showing that they're actually quite loose. So I'm going to tighten these down, and then that will get these ready to put the strings on. So I'll string it up and we'll see how it plays. So here we go. Well, I hope you found that useful, and if you did, please hit the thumbs up, and I'd like to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. That way you'll get to know as soon as I put something new out. And from me, I'd like to say, as always, stay tuned, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. I'm talking.